you done now?
If we don't cooperate,
You will, or I'll expose you.
we could expose you. 6 murders.
I hardly think it will enhance your reputation at the UN, Professor Plum, if it's revealed that you have been implicated not only in adultery with one of your patients, but in her death. And the deaths of 5 other people.
You don't know what kind of people they have at the UN. I might go up in their estimation. And it's no good blackmailing me, madam. I have no more money.
And neither do I.
I know, sweetie pie, but you can pay me in government information. All of you. Except you, Wadsworth. You, as a mere butler, have no access to government secrets. So, I'm afraid your moment has come.
Not so fast, Miss Scarlet. I do have a secret or two.
Oh, yeah, such as?
The game's up, Scarlet. There are no more bullets left in that gun.
Oh, come on, you don't think I'm gonna fall for that old trick.
It's not a trick. There was 1 shot at Mr. Body in the study, 2 for the chandelier, 2 at the lounge door, and 1 for the singing telegram.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Cluedo Movie Podcast, where we break down the 1985 cult classic movie clip 1 minute at a time. My name is the Bo Brad Gilmore. I'm joined by I can't read his full screen name, but it's the Ultimate Bore.
It's the Ultimate Warrior.
Oh.
It's my wrestling tag this time.
The Ultimate Warrior.
It's not. I will not excite you.
Jeff Smith. Jeff, how are you?
Hello. I'm doing great. Good to be back.
You know, Jeff, I think that you would do well in this. When I was a young man, there was a thing I used to do called the IWA. This is my wrestling fandom going way back, and it's the Imaginary Wrestling Association. And you would play by mail. Get this, you would create a character, and then you'd mail it in. I can't remember all the specifics, but you'd like choose moves for it. You'd have this character, and then you could win a real belt. I think that you have great characters.
Thank you. You would choose something, you would write it down, you'd stick it in an envelope and send it off in the mailbox?
Yes.
And wait days and days to see.
I think it's a month. I think you wait a month.
Wait a month to see. And then it's like the slowest paper, rock, scissors game ever.
Well, like you would get a magazine in the mail, and it would say, hey, here's your IWA magazine, and you would look for your character, and it would say, oh, look, the Ultimate Warrior went 10-0 this round, and he's the new IWA West Coast champion, or whatever. And then you would play by the mail, and you could write your little scripts and send them in.
Okay. See, the Ultimate Warrior, now that I'm thinking about him, his move would be the sleeper hold, obviously, but he wouldn't touch you.
He wouldn't.
He would do it without making contact. You would be like, he'd say, let me tell you about my day. And they would just slowly say, oh, he's going! He's dropping! That's the flight I was on. I'm like, come on, people. Oh, yeah. 1, 2. This is it.
He's out of commission.
The Ultimate Warrior has done it again. The audience is all left, but he is Intercontinental Champion of the Imaginary Wrestling Association.
It is. So, go check out the IWA. Now, Jeff, it's been 3 weeks. We finally made it out of the car.
We finally got out of the car in Houston. I made it back to California.
Since then, you've been to Beantown post NBA Finals win. So there must have been electricity in the city. And
I was there the day on 6/17, which was a big deal because it's also the area code of Boston. So they had to point that out everywhere. I was not there because of the game. I was there just by coincidence that the game was happening. So I was in the city during the day, and my move is I'm in very big happening places hours before the event, and then get out. Like I was in Times Square 2 New Year's Eve ago till about 7 p.m. and then jumped on a train and got out of town. So I was going against stream as all the cool kids with their their party horns and hats and everything were coming the other way, and I'm like, good luck, everybody. So that's how I was for the championship. But congratulations, Celtics. I saw the news footage the next day, and they do not disappoint, those fans.
Well, they have a reputation to uphold.
Absolutely.
And you know what? You would think that I would normally root for our Texas teams, but in this particular instance, it's Dallas. and I
Yeah.
can't find myself
Well,
to
you
root for
ate.
Dallas. Yeah, we just
Yeah.
can't do it. But you know what, Jeff? I'm excited to get back to the podcast because this was a great minute. This is almost another sad thing because in my Google Drive folder where we have all the clips of the minutes, normally I got to scroll a couple times, to get, or you have a few scrolls there. I'm in the last scroll. You know what I mean?
Oh.
We're in the last little section. I can't scroll any
Yeah.
further. This is it. You know what I mean? So it's kind of
We're at the
getting
end.
real.
We only have like 1 + 2 + 2 + 1 episodes left. I wonder if that's true.
So it's close. It's close.
Yeah.
It's not that close, but it's close.
But we're getting there.
But you mentioned we're going to talk about this minute, obviously minute 83 of Clue the movie, where Miss Scarlet continues to reveal her plan and what she's going to continue to do to blackmail our game piece characters and the murderers. And Wadsworth has a moment there at the end where he's standing up to her. But Jonathan Lynn, we've talked a lot about, obviously, because he directed this movie, he wrote the screenplay. This was his directorial debut, right? His feature debut, I believe.
Yeah.
And it's weird because certain movies you go, oh, I like that movie. Like, let me take a step back. When you're younger and you're watching movies, you really, at least for me, I did not care who the director was. I didn't really understand what a director did. I just thought it was the person who said action and cut, and I didn't understand the intricacies of directing a motion picture. But I have no care. The only name that you really know as a kid, as a director, is Steven Spielberg. Like, you hear that name,
Right.
and that's pretty much it. And you just know that he's really good at his job, but you don't really know why he's good at his job.
Yeah, it's a brand name. He's like a character. It's like, this is a Mickey Mouse movie. This is a Steven Spielberg movie.
Exactly. So for me, I never paid attention to directors, but as you get older and you go, oh, I always liked that movie. I like that movie. I like that movie. You start to find common threads in it, whether it's a casting choices that you typically like, or it's sometimes it's a screenwriter. You go, oh, you know what? I enjoy the way this person writes. And then sometimes it's a director. And I'm realizing that Jonathan Lynn is a director whose movies I enjoy past just Clue or My Cousin Vinny. I'm finding more connective tissue, whether it be, you were talking about Greedy. It's called Greedy, correct?
Greedy, yeah.
I always want to say Greedy. Or I've sent you a couple movies recently, and then finding out afterward that they're Jonathan Lynn movies, right? Not purposefully that they're
that's
Jonathan
true.
Lynn.
There's been two.
There's been two. One of them is Trial and Error, which is a movie that I really liked as a youngster, which is Jeff Daniels, Michael Richards, and Charlize Theron, which is a courtroom drama, kind of, or dramedy. Similar to that of My Cousin Vinny, in the same vein. And then there was another one I sent you the other day, which was The Distinguished Gentleman, an Eddie Murphy movie, which I'm on an Eddie Murphy kick because I can say this, but I can't say anything more about it. But I've seen the new Beverly Hills Cop movie.
Nice.
I've seen Axel F. That's all I can tell you. All I can tell you is I've seen Axel F. But, so I'm on a bit of an Eddie Murphy kick. So I watched The Distinguished Gentleman. I'm like, oh, I like this movie. Jonathan Lynn. Then I'm like, what else has he done that I probably like? The Whole Nine Yards. Jonathan Lynn.
Right.
This is a movie I really, really like, is The Whole Nine Yards. And it's all his sensibilities. So it's funny that you find the common thread is, oh, I like the way this guy puts together a movie. Whether it be his dialogue choices, the cuts, the comedy, the levity, whatever it might be, I find that I like Jonathan Lynn movies more than just Clue.
Yeah.
Have you seen?
No, I hear you. I have not seen The Distinguished Gentleman.
Right.
I have not seen Trial and Error. A lot of those movies, even after seeing My Cousin Vinny and The Whole Nine Yards, I must not have been paying attention to the credits because I didn't make the connection either. It was only after, looking at the filmography when I was going to go interview him the first time. I went, oh, look at all this. Nuns on the Run. And then, he's just got a bunch of things. And actually, I just went to a screening of Greedy in Santa Ana, and I had forgotten that he plays a butler in the movie. He himself plays a butler, and he's very funny in it. He gets, every time he talks or has a line, it's a laugh. So he actually directed himself.
Where do you sit on directors being in the movie?
It depends on the director. And I always think about Django Unchained.
Right. Where Quentin has that
QT.
Australian.
Yeah, Australian accent. And then he blows up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Quentin Tarantino. There's only one movie I think Quentin Tarantino is good as an actor, and it's From Dusk Till Dawn, which he did not even direct, but he plays it quiet. I'm not a huge fan of Four Rooms, Quentin Tarantino, or even.
You don't like him in Pulp Fiction?
He's fine, but his first line where he's trying to sound tough with Jules and Vincent talking about storage and everything. Just got to make some calls. You got to talk to some people. We'll do it. You get the F out of here. Like, you're talking down to, like, he's being tough with these two.
Yeah, it doesn't add up.
Accidentally shot Marvin in the face.
It doesn't.
He's got something on them.
Yeah, I'm so on it, but it's good to know Jonathan Lynn did a good job. I haven't seen Greedy, so that's one I haven't
Greedy's
seen.
fun.
I haven't seen that one.
Greedy's fun. Phil Hartman in particular is in this, and he is excellent. Michael J. Fox.
Michael J. Fox is in it. I know.
I'm sure you're familiar with him. And Colleen Camp has a part in it as well. She's very funny in it as well as nothing made like in her performance at all.
But it's just,
funny. And Ed Pickett Jr.
Yeah, the thing about, but so why I brought up this and why I want to bring up the Distinguished Gentleman is I also want to tie it back to Clue, because you also notice certain directors gravitate to certain types of material or types of films. For instance, you're talking about Quentin Tarantino. Lately he's kind of been in a real Western bag, but normally it's like historical nostalgia is what he's been going into too with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which I think is his best movie. Or you talk about Django, The Hateful Eight, Westerns. Even Kill Bill, in a way, is Western-oriented in a lot of ways. And or even, hey, look, when we talk about Westerns, here's a little name drop for you that y'all can find out soon. I interviewed Kevin Costner for for My Duties. Yeah, look at that. Another director who likes to put himself in movies.
Yes,
and does so pretty good. Which
he direct himself.
He knows how to cast himself in a good role, and he's very fond of Westerns. When you think about Silverado, Dances with Wolves, he didn't direct Silverado, but he directed Dances with Wolves, and of course his new series of films coming out called Horizon, an American Saga. Is going to be 4 movies that he's directing that are all Westerns. So you find these similarities in directors, and where Jonathan Lynn comes in, I'm seeing after watching The Distinguished Gentleman, he's very into like Washington and the political stratosphere and the power structure there, or even about My Cousin Vinny and Trial and Error. They're both courtroom dramedies. There's similarities there. We looked up that he went to law school. I don't think he's a lawyer,
right?
But he went to law school, and so he's got that kind of. I guess when you're in law, you're also interested in the way Washington, D.C. works. Even though he's not from the United States, you're still interested in by the way the laws are crafted and the kind of the backroom dealings of it. So it's just funny. I made these connections recently for him and his work. Now, when you interviewed him for the Clue doc, I know you spent obviously a great majority on Clue. How much of other stuff did you go into that we didn't get to see?
The only thing I asked him about, and it wasn't even on camera. It was one of those moments where, boy, I wish the camera was still on, which I know you've had as well. And it was
quite recently.
I asked about Bruce Willis because of the whole 9 yards, and this is Bruce Willis before he retired, and he was just kind of Bruce Willis being strange for no reason. And I asked them, I said, so Bruce Willis, is he as Bruce Willis as he seems? And he just said, yes, Bruce Willis is very Bruce Willis.
He's very.
So it felt like we were talking in code, and but I also, I didn't want to offend.
Sure. You don't.
So that's it. We did talk about, that was the hardest part about interviewing some of the people on the Clue documentary. It was just, I wanted to ask about Spinal Tap with Michael McKeon, and I wanted to ask about Leslie Ann Warren. I talked to her just for a little bit of the fact that she is in Aerosmith. Was my favorite band growing up, and she's in the Janie's Got a Gun music video that David Fincher directed, and she's just in for like 10 seconds. But I remember seeing it back in the day, going, "It's Miss Scarlet." Because even going back to what you were saying, not knowing Jonathan Lynn's work before Clue, I didn't know several of the actors in Clue until Clue, and then had to kind of go backwards and see them. I think the only two I really knew were Michael McKean because of Laverne and Shirley, and Christopher Lloyd because of either Taxi or Back to the Future had just come out. But I don't think, I was like a lot of people, I didn't make the Christopher Lloyd Back to the Future connection for a while because he looks and acts so vastly different in that. But I had seen Daryl, which is a movie with Colin Camp and Michael McKean that's about a robot boy. And Daryl stands for something. Yeah, it's an 80s. It's 80s.
You talk about it in the doc, right?
Yeah, I mentioned Daryl because he made that the same year. Yeah, I give Daryl a little bit of time because it's a cute little 80s, the time of like the movies like Lucas and like little feel good kind of movies that we would rent at home that weren't the Never Ending Story, which is good because I hate the Never Ending Story.
Yeah, I'm not a fan either. Not a fan.
I hate it. And Disney's about to remake it. They've announced.
Oh, we just
it is
that
not
one.
never ending. It just will not end.
It is never. It really is never ending. Yeah. I as far as yeah, when we're talking about the different connections to this movie, yeah, I recognize Christopher Lloyd might have been the reason I rented the movie from the Hollywood Video because I saw he was in it, and I was like, oh, Clue, Professor Plum, let's go. But as far as any of the other cast, I don't think that I knew them from anything when I first saw this. I don't think I'd seen any of them anywhere to that point. Now, again, I'm real young when I'm seeing this, but I didn't make the connection at all. Now, one of the points that we've made about this movie is it's kind of hard to, how do you say, follow it along, And
like track the mystery and
track the mystery.
I'm keeping up.
Yes. So our buddy Zach Myers, who's a frequent commenter and feedbacker and a Cluvian.
Yeah, Zach.
By the way,
definitely Cluvian.
Oh, hey, should we say the thing about the Cluvian thing? Is that up yet? Is that official? Do we know anything more?
I don't think so. I don't think so.
We'll
what a tease.
We'll wait on it.
There's a Cluvian thing, everybody.
There's a Cluvian thing. So Zach Myers left a comment on our last episode, which was the Communism is a Red Herring episode, minute 82. And he said this, a few things. Let's start with this. Don't feel bad about trying to remember specifics or details in the movie. I do the same thing. It's such a whirlwind, unlike any other movie, and like you guys have said, convoluted. I was trying to see, though, if I like it. I was trying to see if I like it. I was trying to see if I like it has been said. Is there, or like it has been said. I was trying to see like it has been said. A comma would have been great there, Zach, but no worries. Is there any way to solve the mystery? We do know about Miss Scarlet's brothel, of course, but yeah, the My Real Business is Secrets, Yvette found them out for me. They just dumped that on you in the ending. The only thing I have really noticed is when Wadsworth is revealing everyone's blackmail, not sure if it was intentional or anything to go off of, but the way it is staged, Miss Scarlet stands to the right of Wadsworth, and the whole time just has almost a knowing look that none of it was news to her. Of course, whether any of this matters for the other endings is always a thing. Not sure if Yvette found out Senator Peacock slipping used greenbacks in plain envelopes under the door of the men's room, though other men he was involved with, or I wanted to have a crazy theory. It is never mentioned, but Yvette, we know, sleeps with Colonel Mustard as well as Mrs. Peacock's husband, but could she have had an affair with Senator Peacock? Whether Mrs. Peacock knows or not, there are probably things to disprove this somewhere I'm not remembering. Even though the line, I think most men just need a little practice, don't you, Miss Peacock, is likely trying to make her uncomfortable and rile up her feathers, pun unintended. As this point, Mrs. Peacock, as we know her to become across very uppity and prude, but could this be Miss Scarlet hinting to Mrs. Peacock that she knows the senator's secret from Yvette? Oh, that's actually an interesting little wrinkle there.
I'll buy that. I like that.
I like that. So what do you think of Zach? So, okay, you know what? Because that is an interesting comment when Miss Scarlet makes it. I think most men need other practice, don't you, Peacock?
Don't you, Mrs. Peacock?
Yes.
And directs it right to her. And she hasn't, I don't think at any point in the movie so far said anything to Mrs. Peacock. That's the first time she addresses. But I also like Zach's thought on the staging of the confrontation of all the evidence. She does sit right next to Wadsworth. They're in a two-shot together. And she does ask a lot of questions, especially to Mrs. White. Like, what do you do for a living? Do you miss him? She asks a lot of questions, but to Zach's point, she may know the answers already, and she's just, toying with them. But this all just solidifies the thought that this ending, the Miss Scarlet ending, is the ending.
It's the ending.
Everything leads to this, and then there are two others.
Which leads me to wonder this. Okay? This, in my opinion, there's a reason why it's the first ending we get, because it was the one written, or at least conceived, by Jonathan Lynn first, as this is how I tie everything together. Now, and tell me if you can remember, because again, I've read the book, I've watched the doc, but I'm not remembering in the moment. Who had the idea of the multiple endings? Where did that come from?
John Landis.
John Landis. Okay.
Yeah.
So Landis has this idea of the multiple endings. Lynn is writing the screenplay. As you would write a screenplay, you're writing it with the ending in mind, and you go, okay, I'm going to drop this little hint here. I'm going to drop this little hint here. Boom, boom, boom. I got my ending. But now he's like, crap, I got to come up with three other endings. Really.
Yeah.
I got to come up with all these other endings. So let me write something that kind of would fit in with everything else as best as I can. So when you think of it from that context, this is the true ending of the movie. This was the first one written. I'm actually looking through the draft right now, trying to find where we get to this point here. Because what's interesting is, let's see. Boom, 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 boom. I'm looking through this. It looks like the first one, though, we come to. Okay, hold on. Let me read this. You down for me to read a little bit here?
Yeah, always.
Okay. And whose suggestion was it to lock up, this is Wadsworth, and whose suggestion was it to lock up the motorist in the lounge? Mr. Green. Colonel Mustard, wasn't it? But you left the key in the lock, so anyone could have gotten it. Quite so. Miss Scarlet. So whoever has the key is the murderer. Wadsworth smiles and shakes his head. The murderer would not have been so foolish as to keep the key. It was almost certainly thrown away. He looks around and crosses to a big potted plant across the hall. He searches the pot. Aha! He produces the key and tries it in the lock of the lounge door. He turns it and smiles in triumph. Mrs. White, I've thought of something even more damning. She turns to face Colonel Mustard. It was the motorist that knew you were a war profiteer. Wadsworth, indeed. So then we drew lots, we split up, and one of us got away from his or her partner and hurried to the study. He leads them back to the study. He crosses it to the desk. Intro to the study. I'm trying to find exactly where we are. They're about to reveal it here. This is a little bit different, though, than we remember, right? He goes to the fire and picks up a burnt-up envelope. Bits of the photograph crumble as he examines it. They're unrecognizable. Wadsworth, then having found out the whole story, the murderer opened up the cupboard with the key, took out the wrench. Meanwhile, okay, so this is where he's still laying it out here. They're back in the hall. The elderly man comes in. I'm trying to find it here, so sorry, guys, stay with me. Cop was arrived, murder in the dark, blah, blah, blah. They're still going through it. Let's see. I'm trying to find it, so sorry. So, Jeff, fill in here for a minute while I'm looking for this.
Well, I was going to say already, it just seems interesting that some of the other suspects are chiming in a little bit more than the final film. Like Mrs. White's got thoughts. She has ideas. In the final version, it's just Wadsworth leading them all along. They don't have to do any thinking. But in this version, they're like coming up with, but wait, Mr. Green says it was Colonel Mustard's idea to do that, and so I found the key of the pot of a potted plant. Weird.
Let's see. Here we go. Okay, so this is the ending, the first ending I'm finding as it's written. So here we go. This is interesting because it might have just changed what we were just talking about. Wadsworth, you murdered them all. You were the person who was missing when the cook and Mr. Body were murdered, and the cook used to be your cook. Don't you remember your fatal mistake? You told us all at dinner that they were eating one of your favorite recipes, and monkey's brains, though popular in Cantonese cuisine, is not a common dish in Washington, D.C. Mr. Green, is that what we ate? He looks like he's going to throw up. Mrs. Peacock, why would I have murdered all the others? Wadsworth, obviously, in case Mr. Body had told them about you. Professor Plum, so it was nothing to do with the disappearing nuclear physicist and Colonel Mustard's work on the new fusion bomb? Wadsworth, no. They were all just communist herrings. Mrs. Peacock did it all. Miss Peacock, there's no proof. Wadsworth, very well. The gun is missing. Gentlemen, turn out your pockets. Ladies, empty your purses. Whoever has the gun is the murderer. And Mrs. Peacock reveals that she's the murderer.
So the first one in the script is Peacock.
The first one in the script is Peacock.
Interesting.
But again,
but it doesn't mean he wrote that one first. He could have slid that one in as the. But right now, the way they put it on the video version, as far as the order, it always feels to me like they put Peacock in, like, here's another one, but it's not a good one. So just get through this. They're gonna sing, and they'll say Mrs. Peacock was a man, and that's it. But it's the one, as we talked about before, with no flashbacks. It's just the only connection that we really get is the cook, and that's it. But we never really understand why she does anything else.
So here's something interesting. So that was the A ending. The B ending is Wadsworth is the killer. Okay. So now I'm scrolling to the C ending here, and I'm seeing who it is there, and if it's Miss Scarlet. I believe, let's see. Okay, wait, hold on. Interesting. So the C ending, I think, is the deleted one.
Well, if it's Wadsworth, that's deleted. Wadsworth is Mr. Body in the one where it's everybody but Green, but then there's one that's Wadsworth, just Wadsworth.
Right. So the second one is the everybody but Mr. Green.
Oh.
The third,
and then C is just Wadsworth.
Yes. And then
the last
what
one
is
D?
Scarlet? Is D Scarlet? Let's see. So this is the fourth ending. And the fourth ending. Yes, the fourth ending is Miss Scarlet.
Interesting. Here's what really happened.
Yes.
Well. Here we are.
And it's not even written as we remember it.
Oh.
Interesting. Oh no!
What's
Yeah,
happening in the part that we listened to?
It's pretty. No, it's pretty. Never mind.
Okay.
I skipped a page, so it's pretty. It's pretty down to the wire here.
Okay.
Miss Scarlet. Let's see. There's one thing I don't understand. One thing. Why did you do it? Half of Washington knows what kind of business you run. You weren't in real danger. Yeah, it's the same scripted. Actually, pretty much the same. But yeah, it's weird. So they're all four endings in here, but she's the fourth one, which again to me would indicate this is the real ending.
That's the one. That's the one we close with.
Yeah,
the one that makes sense.
The one that makes sense.
This is silly. This is silly. This is silly. Here we go.
So it's
Vindication on Clue the Movie Podcast.
Vindication, of course.
At last. That's my other wrestling character, the Vindicator.
The Vindicator. Hey, I'm coming for you, brother. The Vindicator.
You're gonna feel like everything you thought was correct. The Vindicator shows up. You're right. You're right. You're right. Everybody's right. You have every right to feel that way.
Except you, Wadsworth.
Let's see. Yeah, that's where she's getting to Wadsworth. So she wants to kill Wadsworth at the end, and it's because he doesn't.
He has no secrets.
Which, as far as we know, he doesn't. Right? To this moment, he doesn't have any secrets, but he doesn't seem like he would be very useful. And again,
no, he doesn't. He's not even. I don't think he's associated with the police in this one. He is just a mere butler, and his only secret is that he doesn't know how to count. He's bad at math.
He's really bad at math.
As we'll learn in the next minute when we actually count how many shots. He says there's been 6, but he
Yeah.
thinks there's been 2 at the chandelier, and we know not yet.
But the thing is, since he doesn't have any other secrets, he's got to be thinking, although he's confident in this moment, this is the worst plan I've ever could have concocted. Like, I'm about to die.
This is like a really, bad Dirty Harry reversal where he's the one asking himself if he feels lucky punk.
Right. And he thinks that he's right, but like if he got capped and killed in this moment, it's an all-time L.
That would be a good Quentin Tarantino moment where she says, there's one more bullet and guess who's going to get it? Boom. That's the reverse. Like he likes to change history.
Right.
QT. He could change Clue where everybody dies at the end.
Right. So
and Scarlett gets away with it to plan a Clue reunion in 40 years.
Yeah. Clue 2. Clues.
Clues.
Well, I think
get it back on the AI.
Wait, is there anything else from this minute we should cover though?
I would just say that Leslie Ann Warren, kudos, because she's got quite a bit of dialogue here that she has to spit out when she's taunting Professor Plum, and good moment with Christopher Lloyd as well, with his delivery on "You don't know what kind of people I deal with at the union."
Mm-hmm.
Plum does not, in my opinion, have a lot of chances to shine.
He doesn't
in this one, but when he does, they're great, and that's a good classic.
Well, and actually, I'm glad you brought that up because I wanted to mention that because it goes in line with my kind of theory on Jonathan Lynn. This is his commentary on one money in old money, politics, morality, and it continues in The Distinguished Gentleman, which again I suggest everybody. It's free on YouTube, so I would go and watch it because it's a fun watch. Because one, it's Eddie Murphy, in peak Eddie Murphy years, and
this is like around Nutty Professor Eddie Murphy time, or right before maybe.
It's before. It's definitely before. Let me see Eddie Murphy's filmography real quick.
90.
It's early 90s. It's early 90s.
Yeah.
So let's see. Oh, his selected filmography actually doesn't include it. So let's see if it includes it in his full filmography. So this is okay. So get this. This is Eddie's. This is where it's going. Okay, ready?
Yeah.
Beverly Hills Cop 2, Raw.
Okay.
Coming to America.
Okay. All on Fire.
Harlem Nights.
Took a dip.
Another 48 Hours.
Dip.
Boomerang. I like Boomerang. And then The Distinguished Gentleman, and then Beverly Hills Cop 3.
This is the lull going on right now. This is not the kid movie Eddie Murphy period, but this is definitely the.
Well, then he does.
This is Eddie Murphy's making money. Eddie Murphy.
Well, remember Beverly Hills Cop 3, PG-13. Then he does Vampire in Brooklyn, which is not my favorite.
Craven. Comedy. Whoops.
And then Nutty Professor.
Right. That was the comeback.
But he does Nutty Professor, Metro, which I don't think a lot of people remember. Mulan, Dr. Dolittle. Okay, those are 2 hits.
Yeah.
Holy Man, not so much.
No.
Life, which is great. Have you seen Life?
With Martin Lawrence.
Oh,
yes, a long
Life.
time ago.
I'm the Pappy. Bowfinger, not my favorite. And then,
really?
I don't
like Bowfinger?
I don't remember liking Bowfinger. That's the Steve Martin one, right?
Okay. Yeah. See, that's way more a Steve Martin movie than an Eddie Murphy movie.
I might need
Eddie
to revisit.
Murphy being in there is odd. Bowfinger, I think, is great. That's Frank Oz. That's Heather Graham.
Heather Graham's in it. Yeah, I remember her in it. I need to take another look at it. Because Frank Oz did what? He did Spies Like Us, and he did.
John Landis did Spies Like Us, but Frank Oz,
he did Spies Like Us.
He did, The Muppets Take Manhattan because he's, Fozzie and Miss Piggy, but he also did Little Shop of Horrors. Then he did Bowfinger. He did House Sitter, which is another funny Steve Martin movie, and Goldie Hawn. He did.
Oh, here we go. He did Dark Crystal, co-directed.
Co-directed.
Muppets Take Manhattan, Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, solid.
Oh, absolutely. How can I forget Dirty Rotten?
What About Bob? Solid.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
House Sitter, solid. I've seen that. The Indian in the Cupboard. Yeah. I do remember that movie. I don't remember if it's good or not. In and Out, Bowfinger, the score, The Stepford Wives, and then Death at a Funeral. the UK version, I'm assuming. Yeah.
Okay. He's got some big 90s movies in there for sure. Speaking of Frank Oz, if anybody has not seen, if you have Disney Plus, I highly recommend the Jim Henson documentary that came out at the end of May called Jim Henson Idea Man. It's very, very good.
Well, we need to take a look at it. But
Yeah,
but anyway, so distinguished gentlemen, political commentary.
Yes.
This is what Plum is referring to. You don't know the kind of people I work with. I might go up in their eyes. Yeah.
Oh man, does like Professor Plum have a cameo in the back of the
Distinguished gentlemen.
Distinguished Gentleman?
Oh, that'd be
That'd
great.
be great. John Landis did that with Trading Places and Coming to America when he had
the brothers.
The brothers homeless.
Mm-hmm.
Mortimer.
But you do see some great 80s people in the Distinguished Gentleman, like some of just classic, like Joe Don and people like that.
Oh, yeah, John Baker, yeah.
And then even James Garner's in the movie for a minute. Obviously, Eddie
It came and went. I wonder what, I don't remember. It was not a hit, but I also don't remember why it wasn't a hit. It just didn't.
A little bit on the
catch
pacing,
on.
I think. It's a little bit slow in certain moments. But you know what I was actually impressed with? I was impressed with Eddie's acting in this one, because you could tell he's very much to the script in 90% of it. You know what I mean? Like I'm on the page. I think this is when he was like, I'm gonna go from the SNL sketch kid, kind of,
growing up.
You know, like Beverly Hills Cop and even Cop 2, 48 Hours, that kind of run. He is very much like letting it fly and not thinking about anything. You could tell a lot of improv is there. And then in Cop 3, he's like a different person a little bit. And I think this is that same era.
Not an entertaining person. I would say I'm not a fan of Cop 3, and there's stories about that with John Landis, who directed him in a lot of great things.
He directed
and John
Cop
Landis
3?
directed Beverly Hills Cop 3. And he said, "Okay, here's where you're going to be improvising to be funny, Eddie." And he said, "Nah, it's grown up Axel Foley. He doesn't act that way anymore." No, this is going to be a good movie.
Oh man, I can't tell you about Cop 4, but okay. Well, but you know what? I will say I talked to the director of Cop 4.
The heat is on. Yes.
And it's his first movie he ever directed.
Oh.
Cop 4. That's a pretty big thing to walk into.
That's huge. Yeah.
Interesting. Anyway, I think that's it for minute 83.
Right.
And for our Eddie Murphy recap. And we'll be back with minute 84 of Cluedo Movie Podcast.
Wow. 1 + 2 + 2 + 1.
See you.